What's up out there, YouTube? It's James coming back at you with another informative video. I hope all is well out there on this chilly Monday. I'm doing well myself, and I hope you guys had a very nice, relaxing weekend. Okay, we are fin to get into this particular situation right here. What this article is dealing with about U.S. farming aquaculture, and we are going to see that the U.S., the powers that be that's in control, don't give a damn about our health, and that's just what it is. So I would, encourage a lot of you guys, if you can find, a reputable farm or farmers that may not use the kind of stuff that we're finna talk about in this article, I suggest that you go ahead and get with that. You know what I'm saying? Because these bastards are literally poisoning the food supply, making hand over fist when it comes down to buku money, okay? When it comes down to the dollar. They don't give a damn about your health. As a matter of fact, the sickness of your health is how they stay up. You see what I mean? And this is how they're doing it. Now, to get into this article right here, human sewage laced with cancer-causing toxins discovered in America's food supply. America's food is being grown with human sewage tainted with toxic forever chemicals, raising questions about what is ending up on dinner plates across the country. The treated sewage sludge, known as biosolids, is commonly spread on farmland as fertilizer because of its nutrient and organic matter content, even though it can contain forever chemicals. All right? Ain't nothing nutrient and organic about human waste. With the toxins that we take in, on a daily, for those of us that don't look, the thing is this, I'm gonna just put it like this. The stuff we eat, animals won't even eat. Okay, I'm gonna just leave it like that. Let's continue. Formerly known as PFAS, these human-made chemicals do not break down easily in the environment or the body and have been linked to cancers, hormone disruption, and immune system problems. Nearly 70 million acres of U.S. farmland could be contaminated with PFAS, according to estimates from biosolids industry groups, right? And they the one got it all going. They got all this shit right here going, you see? Virginia appears to be bearing on a disproportionate burden, emerging as a major destination for PFAS contaminated sludge pushed out of neighboring Maryland after that state imposed stricter limits. Virginia Senator Richard Stewart warned that the material is being spread on farmland without mandatory testing. The sludge is coming on to our fields and it's got PFAS in it. The farmers don't want it. And the last thing they want to do is to pollute the land from which they make their living, Stewart told the Daily Mail. Residents in affected areas have reported health concerns and impacts on well water where biosolids are applied, even contaminating the water. Water is not even safe to drink, even, you know what I mean? Because of this right here. And look, there are no legislations, no laws are created to actually fight this kind of thing, making it, a federal offense to basically use human waste to fertilize U.S. farm aquaculture, the food, okay? Dealing with the animals and all that kind of stuff. See, so that lets me know they don't give a damn. But these are the same ones that sit behind, on the other side, hid, you know what I mean, or whatever, doing all this abominable shit that they're doing, okay? Won't touch the kind of food that we eat, and they eating a lot better. But that's mighty funny, they ass still dying. Let's continue. With no statewide PFAS testing requirement and regulatory limits still under debate, communities and lawmakers are pressing for action to stop the chemicals from entering the food supply. Press harder. Virginia grows a diverse range of foods, ranking in the top 10 nationally for products such as poultry, apples, peanuts, and tobacco, making the issue particularly consequential for the U.S. food system. I'm looking for some black farmers that don't use this kind of mess right here myself, and I can start ordering direct, you know what I mean, and try to get away from these grocery stores, because that's where a lot of this stuff is winding up at. You know, it was used to be a saying that if you shop mostly on the outside of the aisles, you pretty much stay in good shape. You know what I mean, especially when it comes down to the produce section. But as we know, hell, they even use it. They even got that all messed up. You know, all this wax they putting on the fruit. You know what I'm saying? That's hard to come off. You know, they got everything messed up. They have no business in control of nothing. This is why everything's so messed up. But I digress. When asking if PFAS in the sludge is accumulating in crops, Stewart said, "You would think, right? You would think, right?" Question. You're getting PFAS in your body every time you use dental floss and eat something. What's the acceptable limit? Question. I don't know the answer to that. What's the acceptable limit on land where you grow food? Question. Stewart is currently working on legislations that would require anyone generating or applying biosolids to certify that the material is PFAS free. And while you at it, get rid of this damn bioengineered shit that's on everything, the breads, you see what I mean? All the condiments, everything. Bioengineered. Now you see where your tax dollars been going. They ain't talking about the scientists coming up with cures for sicknesses. Them bastards more than likely doing things to make you sick. Well, it is. Who wants to eat bioengineered? Man, come on. I can't even get through this article without getting upset. Let's continue. He wants to begin with the zero tolerance policy, though he acknowledges that such a standard may not fully pass, and instead aims to set limits lower than Maryland's. The proposal would allow random testing, with violators facing a minimum $5,000 fine per offense, to help fund enforcement by the Department of Environmental Quality. All right, that's not enough. That's how you get them though, with making them pay money, but it's just not enough, man. I think they really need to start imposing, jail time. You see, because it's dealing with people's lives right here. Jail time and fines. Okay, let's continue. I think it's important that we at least meet or go below Maryland's threshold, because if we don't, they're going to keep sending it across the river with us, Stewart said. The EPA guidelines are much higher than Maryland's threshold, so we're not going to be able to actually rely on the EPA. Yeah, just like the Food and Drug Administration. Oh, everything's safe to eat, but we see it's not. You see, Virginia currently has no specific regulatory threshold for PFAS and sewage sludge applied to farmland. Maryland limits PFAS in biosolids used in farmland to 5 parts per billion, bearing higher concentrations from aquaculture use. While the EPA has not set any federal numeric limit. In a draft risk assessment, the EPA warned that exposure to certain PFAS chemicals, including PFO or PFO, PFOA, and PFAS, could pose health risks at levels as low as 1 part per billion, particularly for farmers and nearby communities. At a minimum, we've got to stop applying it on farmland while we figure out the rest of the problem, Stuart said. You think, I mean, really? And what's so hard about figuring this thing out? That's what I like to know, What's so hard about it? It's really not, basically what you're saying is that how we going to figure out taking the money out of their hands from using this shit to make us sick. See, how we going to stop them, they ain't going to want to give up the money. Okay, and that's basically what it boils down to. Let's continue. Farmers don't want this. And we can't let it go going into the food. Well, we can't. Farmers don't want this, and we can't let it keep going into the food. Maryland first uncovered widespread PFAS contaminations at wastewater treatment plants in 2023, prompting officials to restrict the use of sewage-based fertilizers to protect food and drinking water. As those restrictions took effect, biosolid operator Synagro began seeking permits to apply the same material on farmland across the border in Virginia. Synagro is controlled by Goldman Sachs Investment Fund. Kip Keverly, Synagro's chief sustainability officer, said in a statement that the fact that the fertilizer may contain trace levels of PFAS does not mean that they are contaminated. Yes, it is. Yes, it does. You see what I'm saying? They always come up with this bullshit ass jargon. You know what I'm saying? It's basically just them refusing to accept responsibility for what this stuff is actually doing. See? Let's continue. A Synagro spokesperson told Daily Mail, Synagro supports legislation to remove PFAS from consumer products that may eventually get into waste products, including biosolids, and ultimately into our environment. We also support setting PFAS effluent discharge limitations on manufacturers and businesses for the effect of development of rules. We also support science-based standards for PFAS and biosolids. Now, in conclusion here, it reads, the Maryland Department of Environmental, MDE, has already established PFAS guidance standards with tiered limits. And Synagro has opted to comply voluntarily with these standards while we and our stakeholders continue to collect more data. Stakeholders. Consistent with the assertion of our municipal customers, Synagro believes that there is a need for additional data collection in order to help determine appropriate guideline standards. Industry surveys from the National Biosolid Data Project estimate that about 18% of U.S. farmland, nearly 70 million acres, an area roughly the size of Nevada, may be treated with biosolids. Now see how look at all the land they've destroyed with this mess right here, literally. And they don't care. You see, the estimate includes only Class B biosolids, which require permits and reporting. Class A biosolids, which do not require the same oversight, are excluded, meaning PFAS contamination could be far more widespread than the data suggests. And I'm sure it is, and y'all don't give a damn. So you see what I mean when I said if you can find, your own private farmer or whatever that's, not using this kind of shit, PFAS, human sewage for fertilizer and all that, go with these people. I'm looking for someone, like that's not using this stuff, because I'm not gonna continue eating this shit right here, man. You know, because this ain't cool. And then see, it got you between a rock and a hard place, because see, it's basically in the water too. You see, it's in the water too. So this is just what it is. It was a bad thing that took place billions of years ago when the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. And this is what we're reaping behind that to this day. And that's basically what it all boils down to. So, hey, that's all I got to say on this one, people. I want you guys to tell me what you think about this situation right here. You probably won't be able to tell me in the comment section because they mess with y'all comments. But make sure to try to like, share, and subscribe. People, please remember to live your life as though we are being watched. Simply because we are. This is James, and I'm out. Peace.